Welcome to the Cara Michelle Show, where we break out of the matrix together and return heaven to earth. This is a place for the spiritual seekers and leaders, the dreamers and doers, the conscious creators and world changers. You can expect a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but mostly a whole lot of purpose, freedom, and sovereignty. And of course, all things quantum. May this podcast serve you in remembering the truth of who you are, all that you came here to do, and how deeply supported you are in doing it. You are incredibly powerful and your mission is protected. So it's time to dial up your frequency and recalibrate to your higher self and limitless potential. Get ready, because we're about to blast off. A new reality awaits you on the other side. I'll see you there. Hello, my beautiful soul. If you are listening to this, then you have seen the episode title. Let's just take a deep breath together, shall we? Wow. Because we're really going through it right now. I'm thinking if you're listening, you can probably relate. And there's just been a lot. So I feel like taking a small chance here to ease your mind, soothe your soul, help you relax, maybe come back into a little bit more of that inner alignment, because the outer world is pretty intense, pretty crazy right now, pretty crazy a lot of the time, but I know I myself have been feeling it extremely lately. Most of my closest friends that I've chatted with have been going through it. It's like being a human is really hard right now. Honestly, this morning when I woke up, I was like, what the heck? Why even? Why? Like, this is not fun. But it can be. And I guess I just want to share some things that help me in these moments, so that if you're in a similar spot as I am, where you're like looking at a lot of chaos, maybe feeling a lot of chaos. My chest has been so tight the last couple days. Feels like anxiety, even though personally most things are quite good. So I'm not even sure the culprit of the anxiety, but it's just been intense. That's not true. There's actually been a lot of reasons to cause the anxiety. But I think I'll share about that on another episode. Regarding collective clearing that's taking place right now. Mother wounds, feminine wounds. A lot of the toxic feminine is like being brought to the surface. And if you're energetically in tune, you might be feeling it, even if you're not. But if you started to have a bit of extra awareness around that and pay attention to the things going on in your life, the patterns showing up, you might be able to tie some of those back to the lower feminine and the energies that are playing out. And before I get into things that help me, before I rant too long on this topic, I just want to acknowledge that these things come up for clearing. So it's heavy, and pardon the sound of the waves. If you can hear them, I'm sitting on a boat right now, just by myself, parked on a dock with my tea, as per usual. But yeah, it can be very heavy. And the way I like to see it always, though, is like that heaviness either stays within you or it gets to leave you. So when we're faced with a pattern or a challenge, when there's a trigger or a past wound or there's something coming up, it's literally just coming up to be witnessed so that it can be seen, acknowledged, healed if necessary, and re-patterned or rerouted. So before going into that any further and into just giving your nervous system a moment of relaxation, I'd love for you to pay attention, like mentally, just think about whatever has been weighing on you the last few days, last few weeks, last few months, whatever it's been, but whatever feels heavy on your heart right now. And take this moment to sit with it and to feel it, even if that's scary, even if that's challenging, even if you would rather be doing a million other things than that. Just imagine that you're bringing it up to the surface. I like to think about a magnet outside my body, just pulling that energy up. So for me personally, I guess it's almost 2 weeks ago now. It was my brother's birthday. It would have been his birthday. He would have been 34, and he passed away at 21. And it's crazy how much time has passed. And that was a lot for me to take in, because I've done so much work, and you heal, you cope, you manage, you change your connection. Like, I have a beautiful connection to him in spirit. I know he's with me all the time. And yet still, after this many years, that brings up a lot, and that's normal. So I sit with it, and if that brings up grief, I allow myself to see that magnet, like something's pulling it up, and allowing me to remove it, whether it's through your exhalation. So if you're visualizing this right now, you can do that. Like, there's a magnet outside of you, it's pulling up whatever the heaviness is, and maybe it's with your exhale. It's getting like sucked out, sent out of your body, pulled out by this magnet. Or maybe there's some tears. Maybe you need to shout or swear or shake your body. Shake your fists, like, why I oughta. Just get it out. And do whatever you need to feel a little bit lighter in this moment. I've been leaning into my quantum healing practices even more, my meditation, ultimately connecting to God, because I feel that's the fastest way for me to find peace, is to just feel that connection, feel like I'm held and supported by something bigger than me. To realize that even when there's so much chaos, so much heaviness, so many disasters, so many traumas, that like, I'm okay, I'm safe right here, right now. There's a higher purpose to everything going on, even if I can't see it. But I lean into trusting that a loving creator actually knows more than I do around all of this. And years ago I would have found that so cheesy, because I grew up extremely atheist, and I would have like argued till my last breath with anyone who believed in God, because I just did not believe at all, and I was determined to like prove them wrong, always. I couldn't understand how there could be so many horrible things going on in the world, and how a God could let that happen. And I still have those moments at times, but my beliefs have changed so much. My experiences, also my awareness of patterns on the planet and people in control, and the way they like to manipulate and keep us locked in trauma, because trauma creates inaction. And so as you're listening to this, not only do I hope, it's just bringing you a little bit of peace, but I also hope it's maybe the inspiration that even amidst everything, you're still here for a really beautiful divine reason, and you're so supported in doing it. I was saying to a friend a few weeks back, because she was going through it, and I'd been exactly where she had been in terms of just the lack of hope and the heaviness of seeing what's going on in the world. And my comment to her was how they as in the elites, as in those who control pretty much all the systems on the planet, they want us to stay in trauma and fear because trauma and fear creates inaction. When you are in that paralysis, that fight or flight or freeze, you can't think straight. You can't show up and make a positive impact. It's really hard to create something purposeful and ripple out and support people or the animals or the planet or whatever you feel called to do when your nervous system is on extremely high alert. So there's a reason the news is designed to keep you in fight or flight or freeze. There's a reason all they push at you is stuff that keeps you in trauma loops, because it's really hard to make a positive change and bring better systems to the world if we're stuck in our trauma. So they get to keep winning. They keep pulling the strings and then continuing to, place a hand over the collective and try to hold us down in that trauma. And that's why I personally became so committed to healing this and understanding how to work with my nervous system and reprogram my subconscious to break free from patterns or really outdated programming that wasn't serving me. Because I obviously did it for myself and my own healing at the time, but I had this awareness that there is no way I could possibly make the impact I believe I'm here to make if I'm trapped in my trauma, if I'm stuck under my grief, if I'm living in my anxiety all the time, if I'm easily pulled by the news or the fear or these things that are being planted to cause more problems, to cause more chaos. And I'll never forget when I was living in Australia during their worst forest fires in 2020, pre-lockdown. And I was devastated. If you know me, you know how much I love animals, and I love nature so much. And knowing about the amount of forests that were just being absolutely demolished by these fires, the wildlife that was being killed or displaced, the lack of government care, literally knowing that they cut funding after their driest year and caused these. Thanks, Friendly Jordies. Your YouTube channel got me through. I was so furious, and I felt really hopeless because I was like, here I am, not watching the news, not having a TV, but still knowing what's going on. The smoke, the forest fires affecting my breathing every day. It's close enough to home, so to say, that you're aware of it. And I felt really disheartened by my inability to make any kind of changes. I wanted to volunteer and do some wildlife rescues, but I was on a tourist visa and there were just too many complications for that. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because I remember having a moment after grieving and crying and feeling this helplessness where I was like, Kara, this is exactly why you focused on the inner work. And this is exactly why you created your Thrive program. And this is exactly why you are here helping people overcome challenges, overcome the anxiety or the traumas, and do something purposeful. Because, excuse the waves again, because I might not be able to go out and fight the fires or save all the animals or literally take down the government right this second. But I can do something that helps other people. I can do something that inspires, that gives back, that brings hope, that motivates, that helps them break out of the trauma and fear inaction spiral, the fight, flight, and freeze spiral of just feeling frozen, helpless, like we're just one person. I can't do anything by myself, right? And help people break out of that so they realize, like, I'm one person and I can do a lot. And that's not in a pressure way, but that's in a realizing how powerful and capable you are and how supported you are in doing the things that you're passionate about. So I really invite you to summarize that story. Did not even plan on talking about that one, but it feels really relevant. I've been wanting to talk about the Maui fires. I've been wanting to speak to a lot of things. Now the earthquake in Morocco. I wanted to speak about the earthquake in Turkey because I was actually planning to fly there, and I was about to book my flight. And then the morning I was going to book my flight, I woke up and saw the news about the earthquake. And then I felt really insensitive to go spend 3 months on holiday in Turkey while this was going on. And the reason I bring all this up, though, is that when you take the time, when you prioritize your nervous system, when you give your body the chance to come out of survival mode that most of us spend majority of our life in, because, as I mentioned, that's the system's design. That's how they want you to feel. That's where they want you to stay stuck. So when you take the time to come out of survival mode by prioritizing yourself, by prioritizing the self-care that's needed, by doing whatever you can to relieve anxiety or stress or release these emotions that are dense and are stuck in your body and like shaking around, dancing around, trying to get your attention, and you're pushing them down. It's like, no, let that out, release that, take the deep breaths, do whatever tools are helpful for you. I mentioned some of my favorites: breath work, EFT, quantum healing, hypnosis, meditation, dancing, nature, journaling. It could look like so many different things. But when you prioritize yourself and get yourself out of that state, then you're going to feel a lot more clear, a lot more supported, and a lot more empowered to show up in the world. Whether that means just being better at your current job and being a light for those that are around you, or whether it means making a huge impact with your podcast, your book, your business or charity. It doesn't matter the extent of it. What matters is that you're coming back into alignment, you're calibrating to what your birthright is. Your divine birthright is to feel good and to feel rested and relaxed and like activated in a good way, inspired. Your life wasn't meant to be stuck in trauma, even though that might be your baseline right now. It was mine for a long time. When you do this, you give yourself the chance to show up and then be that change, make that difference. But it always comes from a calm nervous system. And I'll be the first to say that, you know, for me this past week, because there was so much coming up around Derek's birthday, a friend's brother passing, another friend's daughter passing, some really intense conversations and friendships ending and boundary setting, things like I've never experienced before that were really hard to be on the receiving end of. So much that was shaking my nervous system, and then the world events on top of that. And the best thing I could do for myself was to slow down a little bit and give myself the time that I needed and do all these practices. And now here, from this grounded place, from a bit more clarity, although I did still ramble quite a bit, but we're used to that by now because my mind goes in a million directions at a time. But now from this grounded place, I can show up and speak to it, and I can help whoever is out there listening to realize, like, you're not alone and there's nothing wrong if you're feeling this way, and you deserve to be supported. You deserve to take this time. There might be a lot of beliefs or reasons why you think you can't slow down or you can't prioritize, and some of those might be very valid with commitments or responsibilities, and yet I guarantee you can still take 5 minutes to just connect to your breath, or to place your hands on your heart and allow yourself to feel the oxygen moving in and out. Or to imagine that magnet pulling anything out of your body that doesn't serve you. Maybe even pulling anyone or any environment, like any external things out of your field. Just feeling that magnet pulling out what's not of your highest good, what's not serving you, so that you can open up the space to show up as your highest self. So that you can open up the space to take whatever purposeful, aligned action feels necessary moving forward. So although this episode was all over the place and I talked about a whole lot of nothing and a whole lot of everything all at once, I hope, like I said, that it brought you a little bit of peace, a moment of just resting, and the reminder that you deserve to feel good. So taking the time to do what you need so that you can come back to that state of being is going to be so beneficial, and it can only serve you and others. It literally benefits everyone to take time for yourself, to fill your own cup, to release whatever anxiety is showing up, or allow yourself to move through the fight, flight, freeze response. Your body is so wise. It knows what it needs to do if you give it the time and the chance to do it. Just like your heart and soul is so wise, it knows where to guide you if you will slow down and listen. So don't let the heaviness, don't let the chaos, don't let this impending doom that quite honestly has been looming over humanity probably for as long as anyone listening knows, definitely way longer than that. Don't let that impending doom weigh you down or hold you back. And yeah, I've got so many free resources, so many meditations on my YouTube channel, and different resources for anxiety relief, like all the things. There's so many links in the description for you if you want something else to assist you with this. But in the meantime, I hope this just gave you a tiny temporary glimpse of relief of the chaos that can be being human, and reminded you that it doesn't have to stay that way. It doesn't have to always be chaos, even if that's what you've been programmed for. We're fighting a big system, and every time you act from love and act from alignment and act from connection to source, to God, we fight and we win against that system. In a world that promotes like hustle and trauma and like staying stuck in these lower loops and lower timelines, it's a really radical act of rebellion to prioritize feeling good and to slow down and to do what you need to show up at your best first, instead of running and hustling from burnout and overwhelm. So be that little rebel and do something that makes you feel good. Fight the system that way. I guarantee you'll accomplish so much more if you give yourself that space first. Just like I felt in Australia with the forest fires, just like I felt countless other times when I felt small and helpless. It's like I could either sit in that and stay trapped there and then take no action because the trauma, the overwhelm, the anxiety becomes too much. Or I can allow myself to process it, to feel it, to transmute it, and then rise above and still be the light, still be whatever beacon I'm meant to be at that time. So please don't underestimate your power or the power of slowing down to speed up. And I'm sending you so much love as you navigate this human experience, as you navigate all that's showing up right now. And just, sending you love and healing as you move through it. And a reminder that you're not alone.